I'm Reverend Millie, and thank you so much for having me here at CSL Denver to speak. The theme for this month is Everyday Wonder of Prosperity. And so my talk title today is Let It Flow. How appropriate it is for us to just think about that and just how can we be more mindful to just let our lives flow, to receive our prosperity and our abundance, but just releasing and just letting it flow. So we've had many philosophers, teachers speak of abundance in so many ways. And first, I just want to start off with something by our own Reverend Dr. Ernest Holmes. He says that we live in an abundant universe that is always conspiring for our good. And this is in the Science of Mind text on page 50. He says, here and now, we are surrounded by and immersed in an infinite good. How much of this infinite good is ours? All of it. And how much of it may we have to use? As much as we can embody. That is such a gift. It's like being handed a huge amount of money and said, you can spend as much as you want. And I'll tell you, I could give that money a challenge. And then the book, so it's not only in our teachings in the Science of Mind where we talk about abundance, even in the scriptures, it mentions abundance. And in the book of Malachi, which is in the Old Testament, it says that the Lord says, when we give tithes to the storehouse, the Lord of hosts will pour you out and bless you, and there will not be enough room to receive it. So there's a theme here that's developing, right? And our own teacher of teachers, Emma Curtis Hopkins, tells us, all truth is waiting for you to say plainly what is your good. The speaking out continuously what we have felt and thought intuitively is the first movement toward demonstration, towards manifestation, and towards satisfaction. So we live in an abundant universe that is always aspiring for our good. Yet many times we only allow a small trickle into our lives. What is so difficult for us to accept about our good? We have all of this flow. We have all of this abundance. We have these opportunities to just live our lives and then to live it more abundantly, knowing that the universe is conspiring for our good. Yet, sometimes we only allow a trickle in. It's like stepping on the garden hose while you're watering. That impedes the flow. But we are here to let it flow. But let's look at some of the things that can block our flow. How can we do that? How do we block our flow? And then how do we get off of the garden hose that we're stepping on and impeding that flow? As we recognize that our consciousness is the creative element in our lives, things can change. So just think about that. Change your consciousness, change your life, change the things that are happening in your life. As Ernest Holmes says, change your thoughts, change your life. So what happens before we recognize that there is good always? How do we block this? One of the ways is fear. I like the acronym about fear. One of them, there are many, but one of them is false evidence appearing real. And another one is forget everything and run. And so how many of us do that? How many of us, say, you know what, I can't do that and just drop it. Or this is too much for me and don't do it. We just turn around and run away from our good. Fear can cause us to abandon our dreams. And we cover it with words like, that's never going to work. I can't. Another way that we block our good, that we impede the flow, is unforgiveness. And I thought this was kind of odd when I first heard this. But I was listening to a talk one day from Edwene Gaines. And Edwene Gaines, she wrote the book, The Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, which a lot of us are familiar with. And I tell you, I can just read this book over and over again and get something out of it. But one thing that Edwene does is she devotes the third spiritual law to forgiveness. And she says that harboring a grudge completely blocks our ability to have a peace of mind. This causes negativity to dwell in our bodies. And to get rid of those negative feelings, we need to have an emotional house cleaning, she calls it. It helps us make room for the good that we desire. So it makes sense when you consider that if you are unforgiving or if you are holding grudges, you are impeding the flow of what Spirit has for you or any good that can come to you. You're blocking it because your thoughts are not on good things at this time if you're holding a grudge. The master teacher said that we must forgive 70 times 7 or more because we're not hurting the people that we're not forgiving. We're hurting ourselves. Now, forgiveness does that not mean that when you forgive these people, you still have to deal with them on the same level that you were. It means to stop thinking about them with that charge that you used to have, with that anger that you hold against them. Forgive them. Let them go. The only thing that unforgiveness does is like feeding another person poison, and you sit back and you wait for them to die. But what it's actually doing is killing you. It's like you're eating the poison yourselves. So we're not hurting anyone, but not resolving our grudges against them. It's just not worth it. Just let it go. That impedes the flow. And another thing that impedes our flow, that blocks our flow, is dysfunctional beliefs about wealth. This is a big one. And if you have any, I'm sure that most of us have heard this saying, money is the root of all evil. And no matter what religious background you may have had growing up or you have now, this is something that is often heard, money is the root of all evil, or it's easier for a camel to get through an eye of a needle than a rich man into heaven. So I really grew up with those things. Money is the root of all evil, yet I wanted it, right? But it seemed like if I had it, or if I got too much of it, somehow that made me evil. It's such a dysfunctional way of thinking. And yet, that was one of the things that I grew up with. Raymond Charles Barker says, I grew up wanting to be rich, but it was evil. Such conflict that prevents us from enacting our divine nature in human form. And that is what this does. And so we impede our flow by our thoughts, our fears, and how we do not expect our good just because of previous things that we've heard. I want to tell you a little story about a woman who wanted a house, who lives in Denver, in the Denver area. Now, whether you might live here, you might not, depending on where you're listening from. But Denver has very expensive real estate. And so it just seemed to this woman that, I do want a house. I want to own one here in Denver. This rent is so expensive, but to try to acquire that house just seemed like a mountain to climb. And so she was thinking, well, How am I going to buy a house? I'm not going to bid, because that's what it would take. I would need to have something that this is the price and this is what I can buy it for. But it just seemed insurmountable, as she had a friend that bid $50,000 over the asking price of a house just to get it. And this is what's going on, I guess, not just in Denver, but in many places where where there's real estate for sale. People want to get it, so there's this bidding war. So this lady thought, I can't afford to bid. I'm not going to be able to buy something. So unless I can get something that I don't have to bid for and Spirit just hands it to me and I know that it's mine and that I'm blessed with it, then I'll just continue to rent. Lo and behold, there was a realtor that had wanted to work with her that said, hey, you know what? There's a house that came up and the owner doesn't want to go through bidding or anything like that. This owner just wants to sell the house. They're not looking to be greedy. They just want to sell the house and then move on with their lives because they were moving out of the Denver area. And lo and behold, the house fit all of this person's needs. And they bought the house for just the price of the house. It was a gift that came looking for her. That person is me. I didn't see this coming. I did not see how this could happen. And this was my prayer to God. This house is something I don't have to bid for because what I can afford is what I can afford. And I know that it is a gift when this happens. Yet I had this fear of that not happening. How can this happen when people are getting $50,000, $60,000 more than what a house costs just to get it? And yet, here I am today on the other side of those fears, dysfunctional thinking, and that impediment of flow. Here I am today, blessed with my own home that Spirit brought to me. So for that, I am absolutely grateful. So when we stay in the flow, when we get in the flow, when we allow it to flow, when we just let it flow, what is it that we do? First, we go within and we can have this conversation with Spirit, with God, with Source, whatever you choose to call it. And when you go into it, this conversation, have faith and know that this power that is within you is something that you can be blessed with always and in all ways. There is a power for good in the universe, and we can have it. We are blessed with it. Emma Curtis Hopkins says that she says, there's good for me and I ought to have it. And I just love that saying by her because it sounds so plain and simple, yet it's so powerful. There is good for us and we ought to have it. The universe will not desire through us without providing the means to accomplish that desire. So if you want something, know that you can be blessed with it if you believe it, if you can receive the blessings that is poured out among you, such that you would not be able to believe or to receive. You are absolutely, absolutely worthy of those desires. Be clear, trust in mind, pray and meditate, follow your inner guidance, release the fear, holding grudges and dysfunctional thinking about money. Let consciousness be your guide and keep it clear. Get out of your own way and just know that the universe is working for your good always. Finally, we must practice gratitude. Be grateful for what you have. Be in gratitude for the small things. And Spirit will bless you with bigger things. If you don't own your own home and you don't see a way for it, be grateful for having a roof over your head, a bed to sleep in at night, warmth and comfort. Be grateful for the food that you eat every day, that we have to take the little things that we take for granted. Taking a deep breath. Just be grateful for it. Be grateful for everything, everything. Grateful for your health. Grateful for just love in your life. Love yourself first. Be grateful for yourself. And just walk in this gratitude. And there's nothing that will be withheld from you. So I'd like to give you one final quote by Dr. Holmes as I close. And that is, we become attracted to something that is greater than our previous experience by first embodying the atmosphere of our desire. Let that sink in. I'm going to repeat it. We become attracted to something that is greater than our previous experience by first embodying the atmosphere of our desire. So embody that atmosphere by things like affirmations every day, your a vision board, or just jotting down what it is that you want, journal, and just let spirit know that you want to embody your good, the atmosphere of your desire by creating it. And so with that, I would just like to take this time to enter into a brief affirmative prayer as we finish up this time. And just know that you are blessed no matter where you are. Be in the flow. So now a short prayer. And if you're comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes with me and just take in that deep breath and just know that you are in the flow as long as you just let it flow. There is absolutely no place where God is not. Spirit, source, that divine expression that is us, that God lives and expresses himself through, it's right here, right now, blessed. And we are open to receive our good always. And so we receive this, we accept this, we know that good is ours, that the universe is conspiring for our good every day and all days, as long as we release doubt and fear and dysfunctional thinking, we can receive all that Spirit has to offer in so many ways and in all ways. Our flow is not always about money or material things, but it's just about the good in our lives. And that good is everywhere present. Anywhere we can look, anywhere we can see, anything that we can take in is our good. And as we look at this good with gratitude, we know that right here and right now, we are blessed. We allow this flow to happen in our lives. And I know this to be true for each and every one of us. And so with that, I release this prayer into the law. I release it knowing that it is good and it has been accepted and acted upon by that law of mind that just says yes. Yes, yes, yes. And so now release it and let it be. And we can affirm this together by saying, and so it is. Amen.